Hey there guys, it's Mitchell and we are back again today. It's been a while since we've done a key review, but we actually have already covered this individual's content before, and she is playing Brewmaster, and if you watch the previous video, you'll see it right out of the gate. There's a lot of things that are obvious. So I'm just going to show that footage really quick here because it's impossible not to talk about the UI. Whenever I make these videos, I always sit here and talk about the UI, and I get it. It's a little weird, especially coming from me. But I think, the having the right information on the screen and the right places is so important. And my UI might look like it's a little weird too, but it's actually like tailor-made to exactly what I need. So let's talk about that because in the last video, I know I talked about that as well. So we can see what's changed, first of all. Right out of the gate, it doesn't look like a lot has changed, but some things have changed, okay? So we had a bunch of stuff on the screen like this here, which is literally not even for the encounter. It's some achievement that they weren't even doing on Heroic. This was on Sire Denathrius Heroic, which actually kind of, after I helped her with this, it kind of led me on this almost campaign of finding a group that I could help kill a pretty easy boss, and that's ultimately why I'm raiding on Alliance, actually. That same mentality, but it does look like we moved some of the stuff. This bar was here and a couple things down here, and it looked like that got moved up here. Might have said something about that specifically. I don't know. It looks like we got like, what's a big one here is like these things got moved. They're going to be up here, and then the other one's like all the way over here for some reason. I will say that I don't change them at all either, just because I'm lazy. They are not on the screen for me at all. Like I don't even look at them. But what you can do is you could actually remove them. If you want the script, I can give you that script. Unfortunately, you'd have to do it every single time you log on or even reload. But you can probably make it into an add-on or get somebody to make it into an add-on, because yeah, it's not the biggest deal, but you're taking up space of the screen that you don't need, and myself included. So yeah, not great. But anyway, the other things for sure are like the situation with like health or something. I still don't know what this was, but we basically now have a big cluster of stuff on the left here. So let's just let this play out. But I will say that, oh, we also have like the party frames here, but you have it like unlocked. So you can move them. I would definitely not recommend have them be movable in combat. You never want to accidentally click your frames and start moving them around. But more so, yeah, you don't really need this bar all over the screen either, do you? That's how you resize it. So you can also change the way this looks. I don't know if you're perfectly. This is exactly what it looked like out of the box, I'm pretty sure. So that's just in the raid. I think it's called like raid frames or something like that in the UI. I can't even remember, but it's pretty easy to find. If you need me to show you how to find it, let me know. But anyway, let's just get started on looking at this because there's going to be some things that open up as we see it. But like right out of the gate, I will just say like we got a lot of spells here, and I mean to me, a lot of this stuff is just rotational. But it makes me wonder, like, what is that? Is that bartender, or like how is that on the screen? I actually don't dislike that because to me, it kind of just replaces weak ores, even though it looks awful. It actually is the same functionality. It's just having weak ores, I feel like. So if you like where that's placed, that's fine by me. I don't mind that placement at all. Even though top left is it's quite high, don't you think? Like, I feel like it's kind of blocking. The problem is, like, the game, there's rarely ever anything directly behind you. So that's why everybody puts everything right here, in this area down here, because there's never going to be anything like sneaking up behind you kind of thing. And especially as a tank, you wouldn't allow them to be there for very long anyway. But up here, all this stuff's like blocking stuff. Don't you think that's blocking it? I dabbled with like making them fully transparent. I actually did that with my weak ores for a while, but it's just not really going to work out. But yeah, I mean, if this is bartender or something like that, I don't know. Like, to me, I should just do this too, but I just want to get rid of my actual bars. That's why I started messing with the action bar hiding scripts that I have. I have a script to remove basically every UI element in the game. It's actually really easy to do. But I just never do it. I should do it. I remember doing it in BFA, and people were like making fun of me. They're like, this is a big deal to you? I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. Whatever. So not a big deal. But yeah, you're ready to see what's going on over here. And this looks like just that same weak ore that we were talking about last time, only it's a different shape now. I don't know what this is. I guess this has to be stagger. 8692 divided by S, 2.4%. It has to be some stagger thing, right? And then this has to be energy. And then I have no idea what this is. And then this has to be a health bar. And as you can see, the absorbed portion of that health bar is completely actually being occluded by other stuff. And that just looks awful. So, I mean, it depends, if you're going for a beauty pageant, this is never going to win anything, but maybe it's working for you. We also have Omen on the screen. It's like, are we still really using threat meters? Does anybody actually need that anymore? I don't know what add-on we are. This will be the last thing, and then we'll move on. I don't know what this is. This is the same thing we talked about in the last video, and I don't really remember what I said on that. But if it's not Plater, just get Plater, get this off, and get Plater. Plater is the best add-on that you could possibly get. It has built-in threat stuff, fully customizable. All of these problems that we're talking about with add-ons can go away. And if it is Plater, you can turn this off. This needs to just be turned off. I mean, you have effectively 4 different health bars on the screen right now, right? You have the personal one, you have the weak aura, you have this, and then you have this. It's like, let's just get one, put it in a central location, and I'll tell you, like this, being up here, it's an awful place for it. There's no way. I don't know. I really don't like this whole left side stuff. And there's a reason mine is in the dead center, right? And that's the number one thing, because my health is so important in Split DK, and it's probably true about Brewmaster too. Like, you want to be as reactive with your health pool as possible. You want to, if you're going to survive, if you're at like 50% health, you don't want to waste a Death Strike. You want to get to 20% health before you Death Strike. Or if you're 100% health, you're comfortable and stuff. Like, my health pool is so important to me. And I actually have the same weak aura that I use for my health pool, but for Brewmaster, and it has the stagger thing built into it. So if you want, I could send you that. But yeah, let's just get rid of this thing, whatever. I'm pretty sure if it's not Plater, it's the same feature, a personal bar. Let's just dump that out. That's completely useless. And that's for world content, maybe a character that you don't have set up. Let's try to get these a little bit more uniform. We can basically combine all of these into one weak aura if you want. So I can help you do that, okay? But anyway, yeah, aside from the redundant add-ons, which we see, it's still under the camera here, but let's quickly show like this. I don't know what this is. This is some kind of add-on for achievements or something. I would recommend turning that off when you're in keys. And the details, I think this is details now. It looks different from the last. I'm pretty sure this was, I don't know, it looked like Recount and SCADA together, so whatever. But anyway, I assume this is details now. You could change this all too. Like, all of this is customizable. It's so hard to see, I feel like, don't you think? Like, so you can, and you have a lot of wasted space here. All of this is such wasted space. So you move this up closer to the top, make it bigger. I mean, I don't know. This is all up to you, but I think you could maximize a lot of this space better. And I will tell you, like, being able to see the danger is more important. I talk, let's just go on, but, I just want to talk about this because, like, I feel like Cop, I learned a lot from Cop's situation with this. For years, he basically didn't really know a lot about what he needed to do to succeed. And people would tell him oh, you need this weak aura for this reason, And so people would basically not force him, but kind of convince him to download these weak auras, which had varying degrees of relevance. And then he would just keep them. And then at the end of the night, it would be like an amalgamation of weak auras. Like, he never moved them. I don't even know if he knew he could move them. And they just, half of them be overlapping, and his screen would be it looked like a freaking circus. Like, there'd be stuff going on at all angles of every part of the screen. And I was like, what's actually going on here? And we talked about it, and he's like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at with these weak auras. So basically what he was doing was he was kind of just his mind was just blocking out big parts of the screen, because these weak auras would be on his screen, and he was told he needed them, but he didn't know what they were for or what they were calling out. So he literally wouldn't pay attention to them. And then it was just creating this cycle of pointlessness, right? Where he's just losing parts of his screen. And that was a big issue for him because he has a he has problems with his vision, right? And so I don't know if there's anything going on here like that, but I feel like this must be somewhat similar, because you have stuff on the screen that is just completely irrelevant and also redundant. And you don't realize that. So to me, that probably is the same thing. You're just not looking at that, and we need to change that. That's the big thing. You want to really minimize the redundancy, and I have some too, like I said. And those things are pretty benign. I feel like my redundancies are basically just the default UI, which I can't be bothered keep changing every time I log in. But we want to limit those redundancies because that gives us extra pixels of which to view danger. And it's rare that it'll come into play, but it can happen, okay? And you'll be a better player just by having more of the screen visible. Like if you honestly play with no UI, but had like the UI over your eyes, that's like what a heads-up display is, right? So that would be the perfect situation there, because then when you don't need the stuff on the screen, you'd be able to view the entire screen without issue. But right now we have like a lot of things like provoke. Like, do we really need the cooldown of provoke as a tank? Like, you know what the CD of it is, right? Like, surely by now your muscle memory of the spell has come to a point where you don't need a weak aura to show you that. But anyway, let's talk about the key. So I don't know the exact route, but all of a sudden, you know, out of the gate we pull the ads, and I will say, like, I want to talk a little bit about what this dungeon looks like. I think this is a joke dungeon, honestly. We've talked about that a lot in this channel. And this is one of those cases where people try to like min max the route and stuff like that. And yeah, there's definitely ways that you can improve the route. And I think like the route I run is not. There's some parts of it that I wish were different, and that could be different. But for me, what I really want to see on this first boss on Tyrannical is all hands on deck here. I want to use a spear here. Obviously, we use the Chiron buff, which you as the tank have. The reason I like spear here, which a lot of people disagree with, is because the boss is he's got a bit of an enrage timer on him. Okay, now you could gimmick this by kiting him differently, and it does look like you did a pretty good job out of the gate with it. But you see this enrage timer developing right now. You see that is it the shaman over? Yeah, the shaman over there, and that bug is running to him, and it's not going to die. And the bugs in general are the problem. So we're using good things like ring to keep them from hitting people, but they're just not going to die. The later the fight goes, the more stressed this becomes. And that was actually the warlock. That guy just feared that, which that could be disastrous. My God, what is with warlocks and fearing stuff? Wow. But yeah, you're gonna see a big problem develop right now. So I don't know who aggroes that, but it looked like somebody intentionally aggroed that trash there. And just the longer this fight goes, the harder it gets. So a lot of people prefer to use the spear on the final boss, and that's because it's, in my opinion, a really long fight. But it doesn't have anything like this. It doesn't have this situation where if you like sit here for too long, it becomes extremely difficult. The last boss's mechanics, they cycle in and out, so it's hard the whole time. But it's not like this boss where you can easily just kind of run out of space and people will die to the bugs. So that's why I like killing this boss fast. What I don't like is pulling this trash. I think it was probably an error considering we have already accidentally pulled at least one pack of trash, if not maybe even two. We do have double Illidan and a Ragnaros. Oh man, I miss Horde sometimes. But yeah, I would say that this is definitely not what you want to pull. I actually pulled this mob, but not this one, but another one in the dungeon. But yeah, this is a mob that I used to pull, and it was I thought it was a good pull at the time, but then I started to realize like people aren't ready to kill it, and then it spawns like multiple mobs that just don't give count. So you basically have to kill that mob, I think, before at least only one can spawn. If you can kill it before only one spawns, then it's still worth fighting that for trash. Otherwise, you're just wasting, you're basically getting no trash. Like, because the trash that you're getting, the count that you're getting from the mob is then outweighed by the 3 or more mobs that you didn't get count for in terms of time. Somebody tried to explain that to me a while ago. But anyway, that's it. So we're going to go up and around now. We're already at 33%. So we'll see what the route looks like. But now another thing that I noticed here is, let's see what actually occurs here. I was just leafing through this before, and we end up getting Vi here. It looks like is really close to being gotten, though. But yeah, we got Vi. So my question is, as Brewmaster, is it not possible to one-shot these? I don't know where your Touch of Death thing is, but I'm pretty sure Touch of Death can one-shot the relics, can it not? And if so, then I would definitely recommend doing that. I don't know what you're losing. Obviously, I don't play Brewmaster, so I could be very wrong about this, but I believe it's probably the best possible thing you can do in the dungeon, because getting the wrong relic constantly really sucks. Now that in that case, you know, Vi not awful, but this is very common in pugs, and I think, you know, getting straight and then maybe 1 or 2 woes or maybe even 1 or 2 Vi's is incredibly important for upgrading keys right now. There's a case to be made for other relics and stuff right now, but in pugs, what this does is it keeps everybody's health stabilized. So it takes the healer's job down to minimum. 2, it keeps the healer's mana extremely high. So even if he makes mistakes, he doesn't have to constantly slow the group down by drinking. And 2, it gives people the ability to use CDs poorly. You know what I mean? Now, whether they're going to use the CDs, that's a question, you know, that especially you never know, unfortunately, but they have the potential to do it and not waste it. So it's just giving them the best opportunity. Now we have a pretty unfortunate death there. That is because the Marauder cleaves that warrior, and that's close to dying there. So you got him facing at the group. The Marauder's gruesome cleave is actually a frontal. I don't know if you know that, but what I try to do is I try to turn him, like, you can't really turn him the opposite direction. Well, you could, but I like to turn it basically like 45 degrees against the direction we were coming. So we're just not going to get that. What's that about? Okay, so we're missing a big opportunity here. I think we have to go back here. Am I confused on something? We just didn't get the buff, right? Yeah, the robot's just standing there. Nobody gets it. I presumably you're the only Kyrian, right? I can't really tell what the specs are right now. The hunter's not here. The hunter is survival? Oh yeah, he's Kyrian. What? So we got 2 Kyrians and we didn't get the buff? Okay, well, this is a tragic error. This buff is the reason this dungeon is easy, if you ask me. I just saw a Touch of Death week over there. This is the reason this dungeon is easy, because it literally, see the warrior actually, don't move around, fuck, or something. Yeah, freaking, mature language filter on, that's funny. That must get its exercise in. But yeah, a pretty ridiculous error here. Now we're already probably way over count. I mean, I don't know. You have to tell me like what if this route was intentional. But yeah, you can get that and still skip there, no problem. And you just bring that up here, and you can basically, I don't know, you can do something with it certainly, even if you didn't use it. I don't know. That's a huge error. That is like that's like basically you basically have the ability to add like a 6th DPS player, a 6th player to the group. That's how much damage that will do over the course of the dungeon. So I would definitely get going on that. That is crazy that we didn't do that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on why that didn't happen. But as a single Kyrian, you can get all 3. Basically, you use your bird right at the last second when you're getting to the first one. And then as long as you don't pull all that extra trash, it'll still be up for the second one. Now, how quickly that happens is the problem. If you get there and it's almost running out, might change the way you use it, okay? So instead, with the route that you just did, you can actually take it slow and wait, and then it'll go away, and then the cooldown will be back up, and then you use it there, and then do that whole round of trash at the end. Basically, like you kill some trash, and then use it to kill more trash, either in that area or on the way, and then you get it, and then you run up here, and then it's still up for this one. So there's no way, unless you like straight up wipe at some point in between one of these 3 robots, you will always be able to use 1 for 2 of the robots. It just depends on which 1 for 2 you go for, okay? And, you know, you'll get the hang of that a little bit more, but that is, yeah, that has to happen, okay? That is such a big DPS loss to not take that second robot. That's actually crazy. So anyway, and now we're only pulling 2 mobs. Really bad. This is horrible. Maybe you don't really understand how good this buff is. This buff is like got to be the strongest thing in the entire game. I don't think there's anything even comparable. So now we're gonna pull big butt. Yeah, you can pull this whole room, and I'm not sure who actually picked up the orb either. But this is another thing you got to do as a tank. You have to be the one picking up the orb, the one that does like the AOE damage, because that one's really, really important. You don't want to leave that one up to DPS because it allows you to make a big pull. And in that situation there, what you could have done was you could have pulled the entire room minus the Bone Storm guy, and you can use the orb and the Kyrian buff, and it just melts. And that's another reason that this dungeon becomes so easy. So the fact that you double upgrade this when we're, first of all, way over count, it looks like, right? We're going to be over 70% right now. You way over count. Honestly, quite a odd route. Missed a Goliath. Used the ones we got really poorly. I think this is something, you know. I think something should be said about that one way or the other. But you could see how much you're leaving on the table here, right? So, and then, we're still going to pull this. So we're at 72. What's the actual number here? I've completely forgotten it, but it's definitely overcount, right? But anyway, yeah, that's that. So, there's no real way to skip this. But hopefully we got all the weapons as well. I see you have a spear, but yeah, definitely always make sure you're grabbing that orb, because what that orb allows you to do is like, okay, I'm going to use that orb, and in order to kill this giant pack, we need that orb, right? So if you don't pick it up and you try to make a big pull, and then the person who does pick it up doesn't recognize that you want it there, that's not good, right? You can probably wipe to that. So let's see, and hopefully you'll get this one. Looks like it. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, this is basically like a tank. Oh, did we not get it? What? What was that? You walked over to it, but you didn't pick it up. Well, that's weird. I don't. Okay. Yeah, so maybe it's a little bit of a. I don't. Did somebody else grab it already? No, it's still there. I have no idea. Okay, I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, definitely make sure you're picking those things up. And for me, I get them as soon as possible, because you do not want some DPS picking them up. People are always going to end up using those things wrong. They're just going to use them to pad, basically. Whereas, like, they can be insanely crucial to killing a pack. So that's why the route I do is such an obvious one where we use them. Like, use that first one on the Amarth ad or whatever, and it's just like, that's it. Like, it's the clearest option. Lots of casts on that pack, and then you rip through the ad, so you literally just fight that mini boss, and that's it, and it dies, and it's like 10% count there. So anyway, this boss super easy. We have hero for it. Brewmaster seems like it's a decent option. I would recommend watching the video I made about CCing the ads. At this point in the expansion, would definitely want to see those CC'd every time. In this group, we have a hunter, and we have you as a brewmaster. Wait, maybe a paralyzed doesn't work. I'm pretty sure paralyzed does work, though, huh? We talked about this in the video, but I'm not exactly sure. Paralyzed can be used on any mob. Is that correct? I think no matter what type of mob it is, it can be paralyzed. So what you want to do is just CC one of the farthest away. It's always difficult to gather all 5 of these mobs, so CCing the farthest away one is pretty much no fail mode. You see the hunter do it there with trap, very good. And did you try to break that? But yeah, so we just want to keep those CC'd, and then as long as they're CC'd, they will die. You can do the same thing with Paralyze, and effectively, I made a whole video on this, so check it out, but effectively it just automatically one-shots the mob, because it doesn't need to die now. It's going to get killed by the mechanic. So yeah, 2 people doing that is a massive gain in DPS on the counter. This fucking guy tried to argue that it's not a DPS gain, it'd be a DPS gain to AoE the ads, and I'm like, talking about effective DPS, dude. We're not talking about you padding. We're talking about doing more damage to the boss, making the dungeon shorter. But anyway, yeah, okay, so we're good here. Another thing that I hate to keep breaking this up, but another thing that bothers me, the health bar is like not parallel. It's like, what's going on here? Big tip here, always take, yeah, it looks like you're doing it. Always take this one. Don't let anybody else take this one, because this is the first one that goes up. It actually comes down in order here. So the last one that goes up is the last one that flies up as well. Meaning that if you're somehow the last person, everybody else is just going to be up here waiting for you. So you can get up here as a tank and start the pull while people are still flying up here. And that's actually pretty important. So, but that's pretty much it. I mean, you have 21 minutes left with honestly completely... I mean, to me, it seems like it didn't go well, the route, but we only have 1 death. So that shows you how easy this dungeon is. We didn't really maximize almost any part of it. This could have easily been like, I mean, you already double upgraded, so I don't know how much better it can go, but this could easily, and especially on Tyrannical Week, like this is a really easy dungeon. So let's see actually how the next boss plays out, because did we not pick up the orb, by the way? Did nobody pick that up? Man, did we really misuse those? That's crazy. This is actually crazy. To double upgrade this key with using the weapons and stuff so poorly. It's impressive. It's actually impressive. DPS must be out of control. I haven't really been paying attention. Oh, it looks like somebody did use a weapon there. 25k. Hold on, I didn't even notice that. Somebody must have used the actual orb here, which is pretty common, to be honest. Yeah. Let's see if I can notice it happen. Yeah, there we go. You can see the pulse. Somebody used it there. One of the Chinese fellas might have used it. But anyway, yeah, that's not where I would use it this week. I'm committing everything I have to this second or this third boss here, Surgeon Stitchflesh, because on Tyrannical, people, first of all, they just suck at this fight. Like, this fight is actually like a noob trap, hardcore. And you could see that if you go do a normal version of this dungeon. You can see how this fight breaks down no matter what the difficulty is, if people can't do what they need to do at the right time. And that's mostly just hit the hooks. Literally, that's it. So if this fight was literally like to kill the fight, you had to hit 10 hooks and you didn't do anything else, this would be the hardest fight in the game, I think. Honestly, because people are so bad at doing these things under pressure, that and not getting killed by the fixate. It's actually shocking how often. That's a great ring there. I love clever rings like that, by the way. I have to give you props for that. You use a ring very well. But anyway, it's crazy how easy it is to not die to that, and people get killed by it all the time, especially on the trash preceding it as well. I think that's probably the most common death I see in this dungeon. Every single time it goes out, I feel like somebody's going to die to it, especially if we don't have a paladin. It's as easy as just running. Like, that's, you don't you don't have to do anything but run from it, but people don't know it's on them. So okay. I mean, there's probably not much to comment on. We're at 90% count here, so obviously, yeah, not according to plan, but just doesn't really matter. We don't have anything indicating how much time is actually left for the 2 chests. I can give you that, week or 2. I think it's actually a week or now at this point. Yeah, I think that yellow bar is actually Angry Keystones, but then the actual numbers on the screen is that week or I have, so if you need that, let me know. It's really helpful to see, but I guess if you don't really care to upgrade or to double upgrade keys specifically, then it's not really needed. But it's nice to see exactly. Oh yeah, no, I guess it'll show once we come through the triple upgrade. It'll show you. We got 4 minutes left on the triple upgrade. Anyway, I think we probably fast forward here a bit. Let's just see. Maybe we get woe here or something. No, we got her. Yeah, so everything's really going to plan here. There's not much to comment on. Other than, you know, some small things in the beginning, and then the problems we've seen with the kind of the finer points of the dungeon. You know, like obviously the items and the weapons and stuff, they're incredibly important, but you managed to show that that's not the case today. So looks like Survival Hunter is doing insane damage. I think it's really just the damage kind of makes up for all problems. I mean, we have a pretty strong offensive comp here. I know Brewmaster's in a good place too, and then Shaman is crazy. So let's see where we're at with this trash. It looks like pretty normal. Yeah, so let me know what the intended route was, if you can, and then let me know what caused some of these things to go off rails, because it seems like actually how I'm trying to figure out like when. I'd like to know exactly how much overcount we were. It looks like at least like 10% overcount. I'd say like at least 10% overcount. Which is never great. Okay, so let's talk about this fight. So right out of the gate, this fight actually starts with this mob, because you need to make sure you're putting these disease puddles in a place that nobody's going to bring them into the next fight. And I struggle with this too. That guy onks to that. That's unfortunate. But yeah, so do not do what you're doing right now. Do not tank him right in the middle. It goes on players, of course, but yeah, if you have melee, it can go on them. And then, yeah, his corpse actually leaves the puddle. That's right. His corpse actually does damage too. So it's not awful there. But again, the problem with this fight is there's a lot going on at the start. So this is another one that's pretty heavily affected. And I would definitely recommend, as long as I'm not wrong about this being possible, I would definitely recommend using the Touch of Death on that Get this thing spawned as fast as possible. In the beginning of the season, it was actually possible to grip the I have not accidentally had it happen yet. but I don't even want to find out if it's still possible. So just get him spawned and move him as fast as possible, and then that takes it out. But yeah, I think it's probably good to not do that anymore. And first hook lands, no problem. We do have the puddle right underneath him. And so yeah, okay, we're gonna use your spear, and it looks like okay, it looks like we use both spears, and that's great. I would just rip all weapons, and maybe we even use another weapon as well, because this boss is melting, and this guy's still gonna get melee to death. That is hilarious, dude. That is absolutely hilarious. You can't call it better than that, man. But yeah, using a bunch of weapons on this boss, it might seem like overkill, man, but it's not. This is a really dangerous boss. And people just don't know how to do this fight well. Like once it starts breaking down, once people like can't just overpower it, it really challenges people because a lot of people have never done it that way, you know? So that's easy mode. At this point, I would wait for lust. It's only 2 or 3 seconds. Yeah, but you definitely want to lust on the pull, right? You don't want to have people like stopping their globals to hero. It is the shaman healer though, so it's really not a big deal, but just one of those small things. I also made a video on removing the roots as a paladin, and I think some people told me it's not possible as a monk because the Tiger's Lust or whatever does not actually remove slows. It doesn't make you immune to slows, I guess. So if that's true, yeah, can't do much there. But anyway, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else to comment on. You run a pretty poor dungeon, to be honest. This is not really, yeah, nothing special here, honestly, and you still crush this key. So I'd love to see one that doesn't go maybe this one was, no offense, a little bit the DPS kind of carry it. I mean, we got somebody doing 20k DPS. Is that overall? I don't know what that number is right now. If this guy's actually doing 19k on this boss right now, I can't, not really sure what I'm looking at there. I guess that's not overall. What the hell? These guys are like blasting this dungeon. Like what? Wow. Yeah, that's a big part of this success, no doubt here. Let's see this unfold here. We use weapons here as well. I wonder what weapon that was. A hammer? 26k, 23k, 18k from Warlock. Well, that's a lot of damage. Yeah, I mean, that makes it easy, doesn't it? So I don't know. Right now, damage kind of cures all woes. Like, it's actually wild how easy these dungeons are when you just have really good damage. And that's very possible because of the way the power has worked this season. So, yeah, sometimes you just lean into that. Sometimes you just let them, you just ride that wave. But, not every time is your group is not going to support this. So ways to improve from here. Definitely want to see the Kyrian stuff used better in this dungeon. I thought you were playing Necro as well, so I guess you've switched. But so if you're maybe, unless maybe you only switch for this dungeon or something, either way, definitely want to see that used way better. You missed an entire Goliath, and from what I could tell, you might have missed an entire orb. I wasn't really paying a ton of attention, but you definitely want to be picking that up as the tank, because it's too important to when and where it gets used. Like, to be honest, the places that they were used, if they were used where I expected them to be, they were fine uses. But you don't want to leave that up to the DPS because they're gonna just use it whenever they think is needed, and that might not align with your expectations of where it should be needed. So that's pretty much it. Another tip I can give in this fight is don't run away from the boss like this. You only have one melee as well, so no, actually, yeah, you have two. The survival hunter. But yeah, you can actually basically stay in melee range the whole time. The way you do that is stand right underneath the hitbox, and then and now there's an even more way, a better way you can do it. Have everybody stack and move the exact same direction around the boss, and that's like a higher, that's like if you're in Discord together. Don't try to do this in a pug because people aren't going to do it, and they're just going to run into each other's mechanics and die. But if you're the tank, what I would recommend doing is standing right underneath the boss. No melee is really going to do that. So you'll be putting mechanics in a spot that nobody's standing anyway. And then you basically take 3 of them. It lasts for, I think it's like 6 or 8, maybe even. You take 3 of them and then kind of move back one allocation of the mechanic, and you're still in range of the boss. And I try to do this all the time. Sometimes it doesn't work if other people are hot on my heels there, but Yeah, so you can actually, the boss's hitbox is quite large, as you can actually see in this footage right now. But you definitely don't want to be doing this. This is a huge DPS loss. No reason to do that. And you can see even the warrior making wild movements. You don't want to do that. You don't want to waste time on that fight, on that mechanic. Or you don't want to like waste space, I guess. We don't actually have a battle rest for the warlock. But yeah, you don't want to waste space on that mechanic, especially with multiple melee. The way it works is it's a common mechanic. There's going to be 2 that hit the ground before the first one goes off. This happens all the time with mechanics like this. It's not 1, then it explodes, 1, then it explodes. It's 2, first one explodes, third one, second one explodes, fourth one, third one explodes, you know? So basically what you want to do is you want to drop the first 2 together, then move. Next one on top of the previous, then move. You don't even want to keep stacking them up. So you don't have this problem where you're running like 20 yards away from the boss constantly. But that's it. There's not much else to say. You double upgrade this. Not only do you double upgrade this, well, hold on a second. You have 11 minutes. No, almost. Yeah, you have more than 11 minutes left in the dungeon. That was your first key. I don't actually know how many 20s you've done. We've been talking a lot about this, but that was pretty nuts. Damage wasn't actually as high as I thought it was going to be. 20k, 15k, and 14k is high, but yeah, that hunter really carried. So you rightfully thank the group, and I have to say, no offense, but yeah, they really made an impact on this key. It's rare, I feel like, to that's pretty nuts, to be honest. No, I want to sleep, says the Ragnaros Morlock, who didn't get asked any question about sleeping. But yeah, congratulations. I don't know how many 20s you've done, but you're right there. I think honestly, if you clean up the UI a bunch, yeah, I don't know, get a little bit more serious about what's on the screen, it will really help. And just start playing a little bit smarter. I mean, I haven't seen the other dungeons, but we went way over count, and we did a pretty bad job optimizing all the stuff that actually happens in this dungeon. So otherwise, just let the DPS handle it. So can I ask you for advice forming groups? Every group I've made for my 20s lately has failed miserably. I don't know, but as Monk Tank, just pull more. Pulled too little. What? Well, we're over count, so I don't know. I think he means like volume. This is an interesting conversation that's happening. I'm not used to you guys' level of damage. Right, that's a great point. Things died so fast in here. I fell like I was. I just blinked and things were dead. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, definitely don't listen to a warrior from Illidan's advice, unfortunately. But no, I would definitely say that you just gotta maybe it's just a lack of knowledge. So I don't know. It's unfortunate still learning the dungeons a year and a half later, but that's what we do best here. So if you have any questions about any of this stuff, let me know. Thank you for watching, and I hope that we helped. And yeah, I'm looking forward to. Make sure you guys leave some comments down below. I really hope that more people can help, and maybe things I didn't even get to spot. So thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.